GearNetwork.com.
This is a Gear Network production.
You spring, I spring, we all spring for Teespring. You know what that means? As corny as that was, yes, I know it was corny as hell, we have a t-shirt store. It is up and it is running. And right now we have 8 shirts, but it is growing. The merchandise is growing. Right now we have shirts going from as little as $13 for a TJCMS first t-shirt to $20 for a Gear Network logo t-shirt. All of them available to be delivered right to your front door. You choose your size, you choose your style, and you go. It's as simple as that, and there are plenty more t-shirts to come, but take a look at our Teespring store. If you go to GearNetwork.com, under the Support the Shows banner and 4 links down is Gear Merchandise. That will take you directly to our Teespring store, and you can see all of our selection of our current shirts right now, our current merchandise. Thank you again for all of your support and using our links on GearNetwork.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the Better Live Than Dead podcast.
And with that, we welcome you to the Better Live Than Dead podcast, episode number 122.
122.
It's crazy, man. I mean, we're back together, first time, long time.
It's been a while.
Ryan, Wolfe, Mr. Perez.
What's up, peoples?
At Wolfe BLTD, at MRLG Perez. We are live on location today.
We're live on location at
Tell them about it.
Rock on East Avenue in Rochester, New York. It's a comic book / cereal bar / memorabilia /
coffee shop. And the coffee's good.
The coffee's good. I'm having iced coffee. I don't normally drink coffee, but this is pretty delicious. It's not their primary coffee. They're known for being the only place that sells Death Wish coffee in a shop.
I'll tell you what, I was just introduced to Death Wish coffee recently.
The owner's looking at me right now. I don't know what he's saying.
Are we in trouble?
Okay, cool.
Perfect. We just got a strong welcoming.
Yes, we did. We did.
But we're here today to talk. Well, we always talk about sports, but
we do.
But more or less just to talk about anything. I mean,
yes.
I know we saw each other last week, which was first time, long time.
Right.
We're actually podcasting this time. So.
Hey, listen, right before the owner gave us that one finger salute, we were talking about the place. Listen, if you like comic books, if you like memorabilia, if you like coffee, you got to come check this place out.
I've been here for about 30 minutes, and the vibe here is really cool.
The vibe is mad cool. It's all locally owned. All 3 owners. Well, the one owner's wife is also a co-owner, but the 3 primary owners are all wrestlers. One of them used to wrestle for the WWE, and Colin Delaney. So, if you want to come down and
maybe
talk
if we
wrestling,
get lucky, we'll get him on a podcast.
Yeah, well, he says he'll be here soon, so he might be able to say hi.
Maybe we'll let him jump in.
Exactly.
But just off the top, a lot of stuff going on.
There is a lot of stuff going on.
I mean, I'm just trying to think of how I want to preface this, because we can talk about hockey.
We could.
But what's on the tip of everybody's tongue right now? Game 1 of the NBA Finals, yeah. I mean, for me, I didn't turn the game on until towards the end. I saw it was close.
I watched the whole game,
and I was like, I don't have cable television, so I had alternative ways to watch the game.
Right.
Which worked out for me very well.
Okay.
The only bad part about it is when you have Twitter open,
right,
and you have the game on a little bit of a delay.
Right.
It's like, oh, Steph Curry, and I'm like,
I gotta wait a second. Oh, Steph
seconds
Curry.
later, I'm like, oh, that's what they're talking about. Okay, cool.
Exactly.
But that last sequence before overtime started, it should not have started because was it?
Well, I mean, listen, there's no guarantee that they would have scored at that particular moment in time.
No, but here's the deal. The free throw was missed.
The free throw was missed, right?
Was it 4.7 seconds left? Was it George Hill missed the free throw?
Yes.
And then J.R. Smith gets the rebound.
Right
in front of the basket.
Exactly.
Could have hopped up, laid it up, got 2 points, left a couple seconds left. I mean, again, nothing is guaranteed.
Right.
Nothing is guaranteed.
Or you could have, thrown it out to LeBron.
I mean, that's what a lot of people. Did you hear Draymond Green after the game? He said, I honestly think he was looking for LeBron.
Right.
And LeBron's pointing at the basket like
he's right over. He's over there. You're going in the opposite direction of the basket, Smith.
I mean, I think I was checking out Twitter. I saw a lot of stuff. I mean, the Twitter became infected with the LeBron James, in which a lot of them were very good.
Right.
Very good on you, Twitter.
Exactly.
As usual, you did a great job. But just looking at there have been a couple finals recently where game one, the underdog, if you want, in this case, the Cavaliers are the biggest underdog they've had in 16 years.
Exactly.
Even worse than in 2007 when the Cavaliers played the Spurs, I believe it was, in 2007.
And lost.
But they were a bigger underdog now than they were then.
Yes, absolutely.
And this team is a lot better than that team was.
I agree.
But looking at it, you see, you get an underdog. They can win game one. They can ride the momentum to a championship. But I can't remember who it was.
They weren't going to, but I understand what you're saying.
A couple years, I'll have to look it up on my phone and get back to you on this one. But one of the players said years ago that, if we had a chance in game one, if we had won game one, I believe that it would have gone differently.
Right.
And they ended up getting swept out.
Exactly.
And I think that's how this may end up. I mean, we could be wrong.
Right.
But I think that, especially in this scenario, it's one of those situations where if Cleveland could get that decisive game one and pull home court advantage back in their favor, maybe something would have won a little differently.
Well, I got to be honest with you. I've been calling for a sweep since this particular matchup was set up. I was surprised how well the Cleveland Cavaliers played in game one. While saying that, Golden State looked a little off their game. They weren't missing shots that they don't normally miss. It was still a high-scoring game. And of course, LeBron James scored 50 points. I mean, you can't take away the greatness of LeBron James. I am a known LeBron James hater. I can't stand the guy. But he's still the greatest current basketball player on this planet.
Can I just say something really quick? This is my big surprise for you.
Okay.
And Lewis, we've been talking about this for... I've known you half a decade, a little more, like actually been friendly with you. I've known you forever, but I've been like sports, talking friendly with you for about 5 years, 6 years now.
Right.
And I've always been, everyone says LeBron James is the greatest of all time, and I'm like, whatever.
Right.
But the more I started watching basketball and paying attention and seeing what LeBron has done, especially with this postseason, I mean. This postseason, it doesn't matter what happens. I mean, winning it would obviously seal it, no doubt. Signed, sealed, delivered. But watching what has happened this postseason with LeBron James literally putting the team on his back, he's averaging, I think, 34.9 points per game. Now, I think this is like 17 or 18 games so far in the postseason.
Yes.
You mentioned he's the sixth player ever to score 50 points and lose in the finals.
Right.
At this point, I'm comfortable. Again, you have your because you grew up watching Jordan.
I did.
You've aged watching LeBron, so you can compare. I really can't.
Right.
But I would have to say I'm comfortable now saying that he may be the greatest basketball player of all time.
I'll say this: LeBron James. See, here's the problem. When you compare LeBron James and Michael Jordan, they weren't asked to do the same things. They were completely different players. They played different positions. If Michael Jordan had not retired, and I want you to pay attention to what I'm about to say now.
I'm listening.
Because this is important. If Michael Jordan had not retired, we'd be talking about someone that won 8 championships in a row. Not talking about a player that's made 8 championships in a row.
Are you saying if he retired or if he was forced into retirement?
Right, yes. If he hadn't decided to play baseball to get away from possible gambling allegations.
If he didn't want to get suspended for gambling. I'm still, look at. Again, we're going to, because again, this podcast is, there's no real structure to it, so I'm just going to throw this out here today. I'm up there with my list of conspiracy theories in life.
Right.
Stevie Wonder ain't blind. There was a Lee Harvey Oswald didn't shoot JFK by himself.
No, he was not by himself. I agree with you there.
And then there's Michael Jordan.
Right.
Was going to be suspended.
Absolutely.
And then said, I'm going to go play baseball for
Absolutely.
my dad.
I believe
and then
that.
just so happens to come back.
Right.
When they realize, well, basketball really needs Michael Jordan right now.
Exactly.
And then he comes back and dominates.
Right. So we'd be talking about a player that won 8, not got to 8. If LeBron James was truly the GOAT, then he would be pretty much, he would have more than, 3?
I think what's going to happen with LeBron James, and I think it's what needs to happen, not what will happen. I think what needs to happen with LeBron James, being, I think, 34 now, is he needs to take a step back, and I don't know if he will, because he's a very prideful man.
He is a very prideful man. And he's the biggest crybaby I've ever seen in the league.
Well, that can be up for discussion. I'm going with cold hard facts here. LeBron's 34. At some point in time, LeBron James needs to do what Kevin Durant did. Kevin Durant had a thought to himself, had a conversation with himself or with people around him, and said, at some point in time, I need to be selfish.
Right.
And I can take my talents to... I could go play for Indiana if I wanted to.
Right.
Or I can go play for the Knicks, or I can go play anywhere else. And I could be the guy and get paid crazy and get paid a ton of money
right.
and be a great player, but never be the guy, or be the guy, but not end up winning championships.
Exactly.
At some point, I mean, LeBron has done it 8 times in a row.
Right.
Gone to the finals 8 times in a row. But at some point in time, you have to think, when is he going to be selfish and say, you know what? I'm going to give Houston a call.
Well, listen, he was selfish when he left Cleveland the first time and went to Miami.
But that was something. I feel like that was something different, though. At this point in his career, he could be essentially like a paid assassin, where they could say,
"Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
I'm going to sign a 1-year deal with Houston.
Right.
I'm going to win the title in Houston.
Right.
And then you know what, Golden State, you want to add him too,
Mr. Delaney.
I'll be right back in. What's up, boys?
Nice to see
How you doing?
We'll have him on the podcast in a minute.
So cool.
But yeah, it's just looking at it, it certainly is. I don't know. It's just it's. I think it's time for LeBron James to kind of
be selfish, hired
gun it.
Well, I mean, I can see him doing it. There's been a lot of talks that he might go to L.A. I don't really see him winning anything in L.A.
Well, I think he can go to L.A., but it would be like what he did in Miami,
right?
But it would also end up being you'd have to have Paul George there. You would. Obviously, you've got Kyle Kuzma. You've got the Lonzo Ball,
right?
All that stuff.
I think Lonzo Ball would benefit from playing with someone like LeBron James.
Absolutely,
because he's a good player. He has the talent. He needs to separate himself from his father. But I think he would benefit for someone like LeBron James teaching him. The question that I think arises in a situation like this is just like when he left and went to Miami. It was obvious collusion over the summer. He had said that him, Wade, and Bosh had gotten together and talked about how cool it would be if they played together. So they all go play together.
The production value is very high here today. You've got me opening a bag. You've got Lewis's phone going off.
Sorry, I'm gonna turn the volume down.
You're okay. Well, look at if we have I was going to say if we had a guest, I would have to give him a microphone, and
right.
I just happened to bring 3 microphones today. I wasn't expecting this.
Very cool.
Yeah, I think with basketball, at the end of the day, what does it all come back to? It comes back to what the hell is J.R. Smith thinking?
Right. That's true.
And I still don't think we know.
Back to the point I was going to make before my phone started going off. Let's say he leaves and he goes to, I heard someone say the other day, Golden State. At that point, that team is unbeatable.
Yeah.
But does that tarnish your reputation?
No.
You don't think so?
I think I think we've seen it right now with the NBA. It's at this point, it's how many teams are in the NBA? I don't even know. 30?
Yeah, something like that.
It's 30. Whatever. Something close like that. This is how much of a basketball fan. I watch enough to know how many teams there are. Looking at it, it's really, are you good enough to beat Golden State or are you good enough to beat Cleveland? And Boston, Boston was without Kyrie. Boston was without Gordon Hayward. They could have done it. They should have done it. But at the end of the day, LeBron James is hard to beat.
There's 30 in the NBA.
Thank you. But at the end of the day, it's. Do you think?
Well, you want to talk about that. If Hayward and if Irving had not been injured for Boston, Cleveland would not be in the finals right now.
I think you're right. One of them, if Kyrie was healthy,
right? If even one of them was healthy, it would have been a completely different series.
And by the way, I also think LeBron is already strongly hinted to his exiting. But I watched the interview he had with Rachel Nichols,
right,
about the offseason and how he said that flat out, he's like, I was never consulted about trading Kyrie.
Right,
they may not have gotten along.
Right,
very well noted.
Yes,
but at the end of the day, LeBron knows what it takes to win a championship.
Yeah, no, he does.
And having Kyrie Irving on his team...
Except that he's lost more than he's won. Well,
having Kyrie Irving on his team gives him a better shot at winning a championship than having Kyrie Irving off of his team.
So you say he's going to go to Boston?
We've heard Boston, we've heard Philly, we've heard Los Angeles, we've heard
New York,
Houston. Some people have brought up Golden State, New York. But I think at the end of the day...
he's at the point where he's got to go someplace to win.
I think it's all about winning. Yeah.
Right.
And it's got to be like a 1 year thing.
Right.
It can't be, you could do like what Durant did where he signed a 2 year deal and you can opt out after one and get paid more. But I think my gut says he ends up in Houston.
Okay.
Because they know that Chris Paul, first off, I felt terrible for Chris Paul. Because if Chris Paul was healthy.
Paul's healthy, it may have gone a different way.
It may be Boston. If Boston was healthy and Houston was healthy, it may be Boston versus Houston right now.
It could be. And that's actually what I thought was going to happen, to be honest with you.
Yeah. And but Chris Paul getting hurt, it's...
If you put Harden, Chris Paul, and LeBron James on the same team, that's a scary team.
Now, real quick, last thing before we move over to hockey, or anything else, really. If Golden State wins their 3rd championship in 4 years, are you safe to start calling them a dynasty?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I think you got to win more than...
Well, in this
day and age, they're a dynasty.
You've got LeBron going 8 straight championships.
Right.
You've got a team winning 3 or 4 championships.
So, ladies and gentlemen, real quick, I'm going to interrupt our little conversation. Being with us right now is one of the owners of Pop Rock. We talked about it a little bit when we first started the podcast. His name is Colin Delaney.
Yo.
Hi. How you doing, sir?
I'm good.
Thanks for being on the podcast.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks for having us.
I heard you guys were just talking NBA.
We were.
What do we got?
We're trying. We're trying. The thing is, I'm not a huge basketball guy. I like to watch basketball, but
okay.
And then Lewis is just.
I love basketball.
He'll tell us about
how
LeBron James is a crybaby all the time.
Well, he is a crybaby.
Well, man, there's a lot of calls that did not go their way, which happens. But in a lot of sports, like superstars get protected. Like Tom Brady gets Tom Brady,
right?
And it's just kind of because he's the superstar, he's the guy. And LeBron kind of.
I got to be honest.
He doesn't get it the opposite, but he definitely doesn't get any kind of superstar treatment like Brady does.
Well, no, I don't agree with you there, because if you watch LeBron, ESPN will show highlights of his nasty dunks, which normally are just normal dunks, but because it's LeBron James, they call him nasty. He'll take 3 steps. I've seen him take 4 steps and not get that traveling call.
Right.
So
no, hold on a second.
He gets preferential treatment. If you're LeBron James and I'm your defender and I do that, I just lightly touched him on the shoulder, they'll call a foul.
Hold on a second. James Harden travels more than
all the time.
Yeah, Russell travels all the time. All the time.
Absolutely.
Man. LeBron is not the worst at that. And I'm not even like a LeBron apologist. That's not even where I'm at.
Right.
I think he is a bit of a crybaby. I don't really, he's just this giant freak of a man.
Yeah.
So he's almost gets the Shaq treatment sometimes,
right.
where things he does are so dynamic and violent that we're gonna call something on that, because he's just so nasty.
Speaking of LeBron in Game 1, I was very surprised late in the game when they called the charge.
Yeah.
And they went back and changed it. I was incredibly surprised, because I was thinking, the thing is, you see it happen live, and you're like, okay, I give it to you, whatever. But then you look back at it, and it's like, that's a charge.
I didn't think it was a charge.
That's not a charge. His feet were moving.
His feet were moving.
But it's LeBron.
Right.
It's late in the game.
Right.
This can change things.
Yes,
what
but
are they going to do?
I think what happened there is, if they had not changed the call, and people were like, well, that was clearly not a charge, but they called it a charge because it was LeBron James, you would have gotten those criticisms. Mm-hmm. And then you had the opposite, where Stephen A. Smith went out there and blasted the refs for changing that call.
I think it was very good, though, after the game, how the NBA does their last 2 minutes of the game, they go back and watch, make sure all the calls are right.
Oh, I hate that.
And they came out and they...
hate it.
I usually hate it.
Right.
I'm glad.
I hate that they even do it.
Yeah.
I like video review, but it also has kind of taken a part of I love watching in hockey when they have the video review. It's great. But when you're doing the offside review and you have it zoomed into 200 times, and you're like, okay, his right foot was up, but his left foot was down.
Yeah.
But the puck was over the line, but the back end of the puck was still on the blue line.
Right.
So it's offsides.
Yeah.
I hate that.
Yeah.
But in this case, it worked, because, again, watching it live, you don't see that, but then you go back and go, okay, well, we can. This is if this call is important, this is the most important time of the game to take a look and say, okay, look at. If we let it go, it's going to change the game one way. But if we actually call it, it's going to go the other way. So really, you can't win for losing.
My big issue was with the fact that they even looked at it. I don't think they should have looked at it. I think bang, bang, play, in the moment, you called it this. If you go back and dissect a lot of calls, you're going to change them.
Right.
So the idea that they could even go back and do that is what I don't like.
It's a very slippery slope.
It is a slippery slope. It's not the fact that they overturned it because the eventual ruling was the correct one.
Right.
It's the fact that they went and looked at it.
Well, yeah, because I guess looking at it that way is like, what if that happens in, I don't know, like 10 minutes into the game in the first quarter?
Right.
The same play happens, and then they're just like, oh, it's a charge, whatever.
Yeah.
But then the same play happens later in the game, and you're like, oh, no.
I will agree with you. Simply because I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
But at the same token, I'm happy they changed it because I can't stand LeBron. So,
Where do you think he plays next year?
Oh, we were just talking about that.
Okay.
I said I think Houston.
You said Houston.
No, what?
Well, because at this point of his career, you got to think
he ain't going west.
This is what I was.
He's going west.
This is what I was mentioning to Lewis here. Is that at what point does he become a hired gun and just go, look at, I got to do what's best for LeBron. I've carried the team. I've done that. I've won the title. I've carried the team. I've done everything I can do. Now I'm going to go somewhere like what Kevin Durant did.
Yeah. See, I mean,
I don't know.
Kevin Durant
going west. I don't see him going west.
Where do you think he ends up? We're going to hold you to this too.
Probably Philly.
I like that.
And if he does go west, I
would
think
be
he's
kinda
going
nasty.
to L.A. and with no basketball in mind at all, with just he'll play for the Lakers, he'll do what he's got to do, and he'll live in his mansion and make movies and stuff.
That's what I thought.
that's a
what I first
possibility,
thought.
but I feel
I just
like
don't think he's going west. I just can't see
The
him.
only thing I can think of is he would sign in, like I said to Lewis a few minutes ago, is he would sign in Houston for like a 1-year deal.
right.
Yeah.
Like a
Get a
Kevin
ring.
Durant type of deal where it's like a 2-year deal,
Man.
1 year with an option, and then if it goes
See,
well, he leaves. If he wants
Here's
to
the
stay,
deal.
whatever, but-
Because he's so prideful, I don't think he'd be able to do that. I think he has to get another ring to submit his legacy.
Well, the other thing too is if he goes to L.A., you're forever in Kobe's shadow in
Right,
L.A., no matter
exactly.
what happens.
Right.
He could go win 8 straight titles in L.A. and people
Right.
will still say,
Kobe.
Kobe did this,
Yeah. So
that's
no, I agree with you
he
there.
lives in LeBron's shadow for his entire career because he's that good. He is that good.
Right.
So he's going to live in that shadow forever. And I don't think at this point in his career, he's not going to have to live in Kobe's shadow because he's at the tail end.
Well, it's not. It's the thing is, it's not the smart sports fans like us. It's the idiots that were. I've been a Lakers fan for 40 years, and
Right.
They were talking on Sports Talk today about him going to Boston, and I was like,
that would be. We mentioned too.
I did mention Boston.
What if this offseason LeBron goes, you know what? Can't beat him, join him, and goes to Golden State.
Right. Right.
Don't think it would ever happen.
No, but
can't even.
but if he goes to Boston, he's coming out of the East and he's winning the title.
Absolutely.
So
Sure. And Brad Stevens.
This is why basketball is
changing the game.
Right.
He's changing the way people are about to hire coaches.
Exactly.
This is why I'm getting into the NBA. This is because not only is the NBA petty as hell.
Yes.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
That's a true story.
The players just will go at each other.
The NBA may be more petty than local wrestling.
You got
Easy.
you've got presidents of basketball operations talking shit about people on Twitter under their wives' phone numbers,
so
because I
good.
saw that.
Right.
That's
So
a great
good.
investigation.
So good.
And then you've got just the fact that you have they'll play the whole season out,
Right.
full well knowing that we're going to get Golden State and Cleveland,
Right.
And people will be like, you know what, my team's going to win this year. It's like, who's your team? Oh, Boston, Toronto, Philly, whatever.
Right.
It's like, okay,
Yes.
once LeBron doesn't play in Cleveland anymore, then maybe someone can win the East.
Right. And if he goes to Boston,
He almost
it's still
lost-
going to be Boston.
He almost lost the East this year. He almost lost to Indiana.
They did.
Isn't
and
it weird how that works out, though?
Indiana.
Right. And what we were talking about earlier was if Boston had been completely healthy, if Irving and Hayward,
smashed.
yeah, they would have gotten
They would have gotten smashed.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Toronto was this they had a great record, great regular season. LeBron has their number.
Right.
Like he by himself could have beat them 5-on-1.
Probably
just because he has their number that
Right,
hard.
exactly.
So once he made it past Indiana, it was like, shit, he's going to the finals because Boston's depleted and he's got Toronto's number.
Right.
And that
He did
was-
play very well, though.
It did.
Yeah, the only way. Like I said, Brad Stevens is
Right.
doing a coaching job of a.
You
of a
could tell they
lifetime.
were gripping that last game. Like they got to that seventh game, they were nervous. You could tell that they were gripping.
I was rooting for Philly to beat Boston just because I thought Philly could have actually potentially knocked LeBron down.
Right.
And if nothing else, I want to see that Philly debauchery when they win the championship. Because when the Eagles won, that was incredible.
Yeah, no doubt. That's a true story.
You know, when they're greasing up the light poles so
Right.
people don't climb up them, and they're putting motor
still,
oil.
And they're still climbing up them.
Of course they are.
Exactly.
I feel like no one does debauchery like Philly.
That's a true story.
That's just
No, I've been to Philly plenty of times. I've had my own debauchery in Philly. Like, if there's something about the city that makes you want to be debaucherous, you can't
Right.
help it.
that's great. That's great.
I lived in Philly for 3 months. I understand. So,
I
wouldn't have made it out.
You could imagine. But no, we were talking about basketball. We mentioned hockey, but I mean, right now it's just I don't really know. Like I love the fact in the NHL that it's neither team anybody expected.
Right.
But it's wide open.
Well, 5 years ago, the Caps were the team everyone expected because of Ovechkin. But then
we're at the point now too where
shit the bed so many times that people are like, it's never going to happen for him. Never going to happen for him. We're like, oh shit! Wait a second. Is that Ovechkin?
Yeah, and you've got the audio clips through the postseason where Barry Trotz is telling other coaches like, guys, this is it for me.
Right.
And like the team hasn't re-signed him. They won't talk about re-signing him. You've got, I mean, this time last year, we're talking about, are they going to trade Ovechkin? Are they going to blow it up? What's going to happen this year if they don't go to the finals? Like,
exactly.
What's if they don't win the cup this year, what's going to happen?
And here they are about to get beat by Pittsburgh West.
They're about to get beat by a team of misfits.
Right.
The island of unwanted toys.
Well, that's what you say about the Penguins, man.
I like the Penguins, but the Penguins, the
I'm just playing.
It's just crazy.
Golden Knights, man.
It's just crazy to me still at this point that whatever Vegas is doing is working out.
I'm all in on Vegas. I'm loving this.
Yeah, and it's actually really good for hockey. It's like the best thing that could have happened for hockey.
Absolutely.
Because casual observers of the sport are like super excited about it.
Right.
And hockey probably hasn't had that in a while.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I
Not
agree
to
with
mention too, it's like I said, game one was crazy. I mean, game two, a little tighter, but still, the third period of game two was insane.
Yes.
Like Washington was just sitting back, and Vegas is like, we're just going to lay 30 shots on you, and we're just keep peppering you with shots, and it was great. It was fun to watch, and that's, I mean, you get the Cup Finals with Pittsburgh or Chicago or Los Angeles. You're like, great, cool, this is fun,
right?
Because they're so good at what they do. But you can definitely tell, like, hey, Chicago's better than the Flyers, or Chicago's better than whoever. You can tell that. Where this time around, you're like, hey,
it's a toss-up.
I'm not really sure who's better.
Right.
Any team can win any night, and that's why I'm like, sign me up for 7 games.
Exactly.
And for the casual fan, like I said, it's an easy story to digest
right.
and enjoy and take in and be a fan of.
Absolutely.
Whereas if it was Boston and LA, people like casual fans would just be like, okay, 2 hockey teams are
right. I really, as a Pens fan, I wanted us to win 3 in a row. But I'm enjoying what's going on right now.
Let Marc-Andre Fleury.
Right. Exactly.
Well, that's the thing too. Is and to mention what Vegas is doing, it's kind of good but bad.
Right.
And I only reason to say that because obviously I'm thinking the next 6 months they're going to announce Seattle.
Right.
Seattle's expansion.
That'd be
team.
awesome.
So all the GMs right now are super pissed off about Vegas because my team's not there. My team's better than their team.
Right.
How the hell did they get there? What did we do? What did we do wrong?
Right.
And I mean, granted, most guys in that team have had career years. They'll probably never match it.
True.
But like with Marc-Andre Fleury, how did they get him? Well, they went to Philadelphia. They went to the Penguins and said, "Hey, we're going to take one of your goaltenders. Who do you want?"
Right.
And they said, "Take Marc-Andre Fleury." Okay, don't mind if I do.
Yeah, for sure.
You go to Columbus and say, "Columbus, we're going to take this guy, but if you protect him." We'll make a deal, give us whatever, and we'll take William Karlsson.
Right.
He goes out and scores 40 goals. So a lot of it was, don't take this guy because we really like him, so we'll give you a first-round pick and
right.
This guy, and he works out to be perfectly, like with Florida did.
Right.
With Jonathan Marchessault and Riley Smith, they said, you know what? Excuse me, we're not going to pay Marchessault, and Riley Smith's making too much money.
Right.
So why don't you take them both? We'll give you Marchessault for taking Smith.
Right.
And they're the 2 best players this postseason.
Go ahead.
Regardless of what happens in this series, I'm interested to see what Vegas does from here because they put this team together so smartly, and it has paid off for them.
Right.
But that was assembling a team in the beginning. Now let's see how, as an actual team, they are able to
continue
move forwards. Yeah. And I'm excited because they really did smartly put this thing together.
Absolutely.
They got a lot of picks, a lot of young players.
Right.
They've drafted well so far. I mean, like I said, I feel bad for Seattle because when that next expansion draft rolls around, the GMs are going to say, "Look, you're going to get this guy we scratched 25 times last season. You're going to deal with it.
Right.
You're going to win 10 games your first year and like it."
Exactly. And that's I feel bad. Like if Vegas wins, which I really hope they do, that'd be awesome. it sets such high expectations for the fans that everything else is going to be a letdown.
I think it'd be great too because, like I said, I obviously know about when I went to Vegas last
Right.
year and I was asking people about the Golden Knights and about the Raiders. They love the Golden Knights. They don't like the Raiders
Right, I think it's a
for whatever
stupid move.
reasons. So if Vegas goes that first year and wins a championship, and then the
Right.
Raiders come up and then they just, are the Raiders, it's just going to be fantastic just to watch them hate the Raiders.
Yeah, I think
I'm
that's
down
a
for
stupid
that.
move. I think it's a dumb move. I think they should have stayed in Oakland.
But when the Raiders move over there, the Raiders are set up to be pretty good. The
They
Raiders
are.
being bad last year was an anomaly, and they're going to
No,
be
that's
good.
true.
So inevitably, when they move, they should still be good.
Well,
and I think that the fans of Vegas will get behind a good team. They will override their hate for a good sports team that they can call their own.
Well, I think the reason that they're mad about it was because the way that they're going to build the stadium, they're just going to say, well, look, we're going to raise the tax of the hotels.
Yeah.
We're going to take all that money and build a stadium. We're not going to put it back into the crappy education or fixing this or fixing that.
Right.
That's why they're upset. But, I mean, at this point, I know we're kind of bouncing around, and I'm happy with this. This is my favorite kind of podcast.
I'm enjoying it.
John Gruden is either going to be really good for that franchise or really bad. Like
Bad.
either they're going to
Right.
be either they're going to take the next step and be a dominant force and win a championship, or they're going to set themselves back 10 years.
Yeah, no, I agree.
The best possible thing happened for John Gruden, and that's that the Raiders have an amazing team and were dog shit last year.
And also, the good thing too is he signed like a 10-year contract or something.
Yeah,
like that?
he signed something ridiculous.
He's-
Good for Chucky.
He's inheriting like a playoff team that went 5 and 11. So like that doesn't happen every year. You
No.
don't just inherit a good team that has low expectations due to
Right.
a bad record. So I think. Man, he would have to do something disastrous for this team to be
Absolutely.
any worse because they were so bad with so much fucking talent last year.
Or everyone's going to just have to get injured. I mean, that's just...
Yeah, I mean, Derek Carr going down would really put a dampen on
Right.
it. But
bad, yeah.
they just got, what's his name from New York?
Oh yeah, Christian Hackenberg.
Christian
He's
Hackenberg, who John Gruden is in LOVE with.
Yeah,
He
LOVE love right there.
loves,
Right.
It's real. It's love.
despite the fact that this guy was drafted in the second round and,
Right.
and was taking like fourth or fifth string reps in practice.
Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't taking reps for the Jets almost at all. They basically like said, "Hey man, go get some water." Or
If I'm
something.
not
Go get some
mistaken,
water.
if I'm not mistaken, they drafted him in the second round. They were like, he's got great potential. He's gonna be fantastic. He's gonna be a wonderful quarterback. And then like a year in, they're like, yeah, so he's reworking his entire throwing. We've told him stop throwing the ball his entire life. He's throwing it one way. We
Right.
said stop that.
Do it
this
another way.
Work with this guy.
Yeah.
Worked with him for like 8 months, and they're still like, we don't really like what he's doing. It's not good.
Change everything.
Like they were talking.
Okay, we hate that too.
Like the day they
Right.
traded, if I'm not mistaken, the day they traded him, they were talking him up. They're like, yeah, he's working on his throwing motion. He's making progress, and it's like, if you don't have it by now, when are you going to get it? Like,
but John Gruden.
but that would be the Raiders. The Raiders. You
Yeah,
know what
that's
happened
true.
is like Derek Carr would get hurt, and then Christian Hackenberg would come in and just light it up, and then Jets
light
would be
it
like,
up.
Right,
hell?
right.
Well, that's the Jets being the Jets.
That's
the
a true
Jets.
story.
That's the name of the game.
I can hear
It's a true
John
story.
getting mad right now listening.
Right
to this
now,
part
while I
of
was
the
listening to
podcast.
this, yeah.
I can hear him simmering.
Well, the Jets are pretty much garbage, so... Sorry, Jay.
They just can't.
They
get
just
this.
keep jetsing all the
Right,
time. Yeah.
exactly.
This quarterback position is really a thorn in their side.
Oh, big time. For a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Stockpiling like so-so quarterbacks
Right.
is not the move. Like, it's just not a thing.
Their best
No.
quarterback last year was he like 40 now? Josh
Something like
McCown's
that.
39 or 40?
Yeah.
38, 39?
Yeah, 38, 39.
Wasn't
is the
bad.
new- The new 22, though.
Well,
It depends.
Those
Maybe
older
if-
quarterbacks.
If you're
are-
Tom Brady,
If you're Tom Brady.
if you're Tom Brady, it's because you're eating like baby blood
exactly.
Yeah,
or stem cells. Like, what did you have for
Exactly.
breakfast? I had crushed up stem cells. Or if you're Peyton Manning,
Right.
it's
Stem cells
apparently-
over my Cheerios.
No.
If you're Peyton Manning, apparently it's HGH. I don't know if you saw that yesterday.
Peyton Manning at the end was like sad. He won a Super Bowl. It was the saddest
Super Bowl win
Super
ever.
Bowl win ever. He was just so.
I'm not going to lie to you.
Man.
I kind of feel like that was a gimme.
Well, at that here's the deal. They had, I think, if back then, if the Broncos had an actual quarterback that could throw the ball forward, with that defense, like
Right.
they would have.
Yeah.
That defense was nasty.
unstoppable.
They're
Oh, yeah.
they're a very Ravens-esque team, like
Yeah.
a Trent Dilfer Ravens team.
Right.
But even Brock Osweiler couldn't fill the quarterback
No.
role on that team. That guy, what a disaster he was.
Well, when he signed with Houston,
My favorite thing about last season was when Houston traded Brock Osweiler to the Browns, said, here's some money, here's Brock Osweiler,
Right.
we'll give you a really good draft pick, And Cleveland went out and got I can't remember who they got, but they got a really good player for it, for legitimately just eating $17 million.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Like, here's $17 million worth of shit.
And the crazy part is Osweiler still makes most of that money.
Yeah, well, yeah.
At this point, I'm thinking of it this way. First off, I went into the wrong profession. Second off, if you have a team that's offering to give you, doesn't matter how good or bad you are, if they're offering you hundreds of millions of dollars, guaranteed, like 3/4 of it was guaranteed.
Yeah.
Like $50-60 million guaranteed. Even if I go out and take a dump at midfield,
exactly,
and
which
never
is what
play,
he did.
You never play a game in my life.
Which
you're
is
still getting all
basically
that money.
Yep, that's basically Brock Osweiler. You
Pretty
basically
much.
summed up his career after getting all that money. He just went out in the middle of the field, took a dump, and was like, "Thanks, I'll take a check."
Exactly.
Remember Matt Flynn threw like 7 touchdowns in like the last game of the season, coming in for Aaron Rodgers, and then like 4 different teams paid him like a shit fuck of money, like 4 different ones. They were like, pay him a bunch of money, and that team's like, oh, he's junk.
And then he did nothing.
Trash him. And then the next team's like, oh, hold on. Matt Flynn's around? I'll pay him a shit fuck of money.
And then nothing.
Nothing.
That's my favorite thing when you see players that so I'm just looking at the Brown stuff. When you see a player that's like really bad, usually quarterbacks, and they just keep bouncing around. It's like, like when the Ravens signed RG3 kind of, and you're like,
yeah. Right.
You're like, what are you doing there?
Yeah.
But I mean, then they go out and get Lamar Jackson. So it kind of makes sense, but you just look at it and you wonder what the hell.
Right.
How do these people have jobs?
Right. Well, I remember when Brock Osweiler got signed, we did a podcast, and I was like, what are they thinking? Paying this dude so much money. Like, he hasn't done anything yet.
But those guys who like are above the radar, like a Brock Osweiler, like an RG3, where you always know where they go and they get these big contracts and there's like hype around them.
Right.
Those guys who bounce around the league usually just fizzle out. But then there's like the Case Keenums who bounce around to 100 teams and then finally find that landing spot and be money.
Right. You found that right job where you've got the right coach,
the
right offensive coordinator, the right offensive line, the right defense, and you cash in on it. You can't be mad about it.
Right, like Nick Foles. He was in Philly, was okay, bounced around the league a bunch, was junk, came back to Philly in a situation where they trust him and they had faith in him, and he just won a Super Bowl.
He did.
He
absolutely did.
So far, there was all that talk about him going to a different team because he just won a Super Bowl. He was the Super Bowl MVP.
Right.
You know, he's not going to start in Philly, so send him somewhere he's going to start.
I agree.
But I think it's the smartest thing he could have ever done to just stay there and back up Wentz because
get a ton of cash and you've lived the dream.
Because he was thinking about stopping. He was thinking about quitting.
Right.
But this job is like the ideal job for him. So
Jeff Fisher will do that to you.
And as much as I hate Philly, I was happy to see him beat New England.
I mean, it's like what we're looking at the NBA Finals and the Stanley Cup Final. Was it a great game? Absolutely. Was it enjoyable? Absolutely. By the way, just to point out real quick, I finally got the page loaded up here. Nick Chubb was who they drafted. Cleveland drafted with the pick after they said. So that might work out for Cleveland. Just might.
It might.
We'll look back at that and we'll wonder, whatever happened to that pick that Houston traded? Oh, Nick Chubb. Oh, okay.
Right.
Good job. Great job.
It's a good pick. I remember I thought that the Browns should have taken Saquon Barkley 100%. And then when they got Chubb, I was like, you know what? I'm not mad at it anymore. I think that's all right.
Although, have you seen Saquon Barkley's legs? I saw some pictures of the internet where I'm like,
as big as my waist.
I'm scrolling through Twitter and it's like this man belongs in a forest. I look at the picture and I'm like, Jesus Christ, like,
right?
Oh man,
yeah, he's a tree.
Yeah, there was like a video of him like golfing, and I was like, it doesn't even look right. He's just like so
right.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It's a big dude.
You'll see a couple videos. I'm thinking a couple videos next year of just 4 or 5 guys on him, and he's just walking away.
Right,
he's just still going.
It's incredible, absolutely incredible.
Like, man.
Yeah, he's a beast.
I hope Baker Mayfield works out for the Browns. I feel bad for the Browns, man. I can't not feel bad for him at this point. Like, I don't know. Is there anybody out there who's like, nah, fuck the Browns. I hate the Browns. Because I don't think that person exists anymore.
You can't even really, like, even if you hate the Browns, you're kind of like, I guess you'd be jumping the shark.
Right.
Because it's like they've gotten to the point where they were bad on accident. And now they're bad on purpose. Now they're losing every game on purpose.
Right.
And they're kind of like, they burn the building down, and they're like, okay, we're not going to clean the ashes up. We're just going to build over the ashes.
Right.
And like, I was in Cleveland a couple weeks ago. I'm at the stadium. I'm like, this place is beautiful. Like, how did they get away with putting a shitty football team in here?
It's gorgeous. Like, you're driving into the city, and you drive right. right there in front of you.
Right.
Like, this is super cool.
Yeah.
And then my cousin was like, "Yeah, the Browns play there," and I'm like, "I know, man." He's like, "I didn't know if you remember the Browns are pretty bad." I was like, "It's easy to forget about them."
It is. It'll be interesting.
And I think Baker Mayfield's the best quarterback in that draft class. I do.
Absolutely.
I believe that. I think he's the most pro-ready right now? No. Do I think that the Browns could fuck it all up? Of course
Absolutely.
I do. Of course.
Yeah.
Because
they've proven they can.
He's potentially in the best situation because Tyrod Taylor is there to shoulder the load, but the Browns are going to pull Tyrod Taylor for like 2 games.
Well, you know what's going to
throw
be
this kid to the wolves. You know they're going to because it's such a Browns thing to do, man.
You know it's
True
great
story.
too. It's great too because they're on Hard Knocks this year.
They are.
I
That'll be
know.
interesting.
So much that's I'm
It'll be fun.
going to eat it up.
I didn't know that there was like rules.
I think that dude is wearing a kilt.
For what happened?
Yeah, that dude's wearing a
There's
kilt.
a man wearing a
Happens.
kilt.
Listen,
I know, I get it.
I don't question
Me
much
neither.
of anything.
As long as the card clears,
I agree.
as long as the money goes into the cash register.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, I didn't realize there was like rules for being on Hard Knocks. You couldn't be a playoff team, and you couldn't have had you couldn't have a coach in your first year.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Aside from
that's
that, so
interesting.
the Browns were like, we don't want to do it. We don't want, and they're
Yeah,
like,
too bad.
You're like one of the 4 teams that can actually be
Right.
And you're one. You could have gotten out of this by just firing your coach who's won 1 game in X amount of seasons. Like you could have gotten out of this. Really,
I think Hugh Jackson's got a bad rap because they needed a guy in there, a placeholder in there.
Right.
I think we'll see. I think we'll see now how good he actually is.
We'll see.
You look at Minnesota. Like I think that the coaches who came from Cincinnati will realize very quickly maybe we should have fired our coach a while ago and hired one of these guys because they're halfway decent.
Right.
Lewis held that job forever. Like
He's got to have something on Paul Brown.
He has to. That's some of the nastiest stuff out there. He's got it like in a portfolio. He's got pictures.
You fire him, and he's just like, well,
I'm going to release this now to the public.
Well,
Good luck.
At this point, I almost feel like if you're him, do you even still want that job? How do you still want that job, man?
Yeah, well, it's a guaranteed paycheck, man.
Yeah,
as long as the checks keep clearing.
Right.
He ain't getting another job.
I remember in the offseason they were talking about making him the director of like football operations or something, and I was like, the only worst thing you can do than firing him is giving him complete control over your organization.
No doubt.
Basically promote him. Yeah,
Exactly.
Remember when Russ Brandon was the Bills GM and we're like,
Yeah.
he really bad at that? And
Yeah.
we're like, well, you really sucked at that job, so we're going to promote you to another job.
Exactly.
And then you're going to be the GM, then the president of football operations. And it's like, what the hell are you doing, man?
Yeah, no, I agree. That's true. So, before we continue, let me ask you a question.
We're at 40 minutes now, so
We'll wrap it up in a second.
how much longer you want to go?
We haven't talked baseball yet,
We could talk a little baseball.
so let's talk a little baseball.
Okay.
Who's your team?
I don't really have one.
Okay, that's fine.
No.
That's cool. Because
Who do you like
team
to,
is
who do you like
Boston.
to, who do you like
Okay.
to watch?
I'm a casual observer of the game.
Okay, that's fair.
So yeah, nobody. I
which I have become more of. I got to say, when we first started podcasting, I was very, Yankees can eat an ass and
Right.
go Red Sox and everyone else sucks. But like with hockey, with basketball, with baseball, I've tried to open up more and enjoy the sport as a whole.
I love baseball. I love the sport as a whole.
Fan, yeah.
But I'm a Yankees fan. He's a
Okay.
Boston fan.
Gotcha.
And our two teams are two of the hottest teams out there right now.
Right.
Just lighting stuff up.
yeah.
Before the season began, we made some picks that we thought was going to win. And I put a couple teams in the playoffs that I don't think are going to make the playoffs right now.
It's so early. though.
Honestly,
It is early.
It's June. I was going to say it's almost June. It is June right now. Like a couple days ago, I looked at the projected playoffs.
Right.
And looking at the teams that are in the playoffs, like in the NL right now, it's insane.
Right.
I'm waiting for it to pop up.
I was going to say, but if you look at the standings at this time of the year for any season,
Yeah.
The playoffs are nothing like it.
Well, probably not. But I
like
chose
it.
L.A., and it doesn't look like that's going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, Clayton Kershaw came back and it was like great, and then he's throwing like 87 miles an hour. And like, what's
Right.
wrong with him?
Right.
His back's screwed up again.
Yeah, so that may not work.
Yeah.
I did pick the Mets to make the playoffs. I don't know if that's going to happen.
In April, it looked like it.
It did. The
Not
Mets
now.
were on fire for like the first 3 weeks
And
of the
did you
season.
see last week
Yeah,
their stadium was
they-
actually on fire?
Right.
It was like, how many in a row did they win? It was like,
Yeah, they won a ton.
it was crazy.
Yeah.
It was like,
So-
Mets won. It was like 12 straight or something. I was
Right.
like, what? What's going on?
Yeah. I kept
The one
getting,
thing I feel about the Red Sox and Yankees are like I'm kind of worried about the Red Sox because obviously I watch them more intently.
right.
But like I see the Yankees and they're just winning like 23 of 26. Can't
Right.
they lose a game?
No.
Like, come on.
But see, what I like about the Yankees this year is that there's no quit in them. Like they get to like the 8th inning, they may be down by like 2-3 runs, and they don't quit. They'll put the bat on the ball. They'll knock it out the park.
Well, right now you've got the Yankees a half game up on Boston in the East. The Red Sox have a 3.5 game lead over the second place team, the wild card. You've got Cleveland at 30-26. That division's been atrocious.
Yeah.
You've got Houston. Not surprising, but the other team, Seattle.
Seattle's been playing good ball.
Especially with Robinson Cano.
Right.
Seattle,
right.
I mean, Seattle, of course, is my team when I was a kid. I grew through the Griffey era.
Okay, right.
He wore a backwards hat, y'all.
Yeah, right.
His hat was backwards.
Exactly.
All right?
Atlanta's been playing good ball. They're coming out of nowhere.
And then you look at the National League, and you've got Atlanta. Washington is a game and a half behind.
Yep.
I believe they're the number one team in the wild card. You've got Milwaukee in the Central.
Oh, yeah.
And you've got Colorado in the West.
Right. See, I think I said Colorado.
I can look back and let you know.
I know I said Arizona.
Pull the tape.
Right. I know I said Arizona making the playoffs, and I don't think that's going to come
They're
close to
not
true.
too far behind, but the NL West has been like the NL or the AL Central. It's just dragging ass.
Yeah.
What I think was crazy about the Yankees? So they, a lot of times, and it's probably because where we are, but also because of who they are.
Right.
You know almost the whole lineup. Even as a casual fan, you can almost name everyone on the team.
Right.
And the Yankees, they had all those years where you could name everybody.
Yeah,
and then they had those 2 years where it's
right.
got
Who
a
are these
bunch of
guys?
nobodies.
You're right. Who are these guys?
Yankees are in trouble. And then it's oh wait, now we know all of them.
Everyone.
How?
Right.
How do they do it, man? They just turn it around, and
Well,
they didn't do it by buying all the players.
No,
which
not
is
this time, which
right,
is
not
good.
this time. Which I was look at the Yankees.
Yeah,
Huh.
they got a lot of young talent. They really developed their farm system. Gleyber Torres came up and has just been a beast.
They did not Yankees this one. They really
no, right, exactly.
Except for this Giancarlo Stanton thing. But I mean,
who's been struggling at home but been on fire on the road.
Which you'd think it'd be the other way around.
Yeah, you would think,
because Yankee Stadium is like playing in a minor league,
exactly,
like a little league park.
Oh, I love that stadium. It's such a nice stadium.
It's like I hit a foul ball, but it got a backwind, so it's a home run.
Right.
I hit the ball backwards,
exactly,
and it still went forwards, and I hit a home run.
I haven't been to the new stadium yet.
I don't think I can.
The new stadium is great.
I went to the old Yankee Stadium.
New stadium is great. I've been to the old, but I love the new stadium.
I went to the old Yankee Stadium with Tommy Dreamer, Edge,
that's awesome,
Jimmy Yang. I can't even remember who. Victoria.
Great story.
We had this giant crew. Dreamer just got a hookup for all these free tickets.
Great.
It was great, and all the people at the concessions knew him, so they were giving us free food.
If you're listening to this podcast, you don't know who those are. Google them.
Yeah,
he told you he used to be a wrestler. He did wrestle for the WWE for a while.
Still is a wrestler.
He still is a wrestler. He's been all over the place. So
say he used to be a wrestler. He might fight you now.
No, he's still a wrestler. He's got a show tonight. As a matter of fact.
So on one of the articles on Democrat and Chronicle, it said former pro wrestlers open shop, and Brody just gave me shit. He just put up on Facebook former wrestlers in quotes. Love it. It's come on, man. You got to rag on me for that.
You got to be proud for him, though. I mean, I'm really happy for what's happening with him.
That big oaf.
Yeah.
That
big oaf.
Oafy lummox. He's just...
We'll have to make sure we tag him in this.
For me, it was really weird because I saw the video that came out where they went back to samurai martial arts.
Yeah.
It just brought me back to those days where I remember when I was younger watching those shows. And I was damn, man.
Right.
We were talking. I was talking to him about it because after I watched it, I texted him and we were talking about just seeing Kurt Sawyer, the dude who owned Samurai Martial Arts, brought me back. I was oh man, and I was I would love to hear he said that talking to him was wild.
I bet
it was wild, just all the stories this dude had. Which I was man, I want all these stories. I was can you get me the B-roll footage that they didn't air on your thing? I want to see that'd
be pretty cool.
B-roll Kurt Sawyer footage.
Right, that'd be pretty cool.
That's what I want.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
It brings me back to I remember actually the first time that my brother showed up and you were training. I remember it was forever ago. You were tiny.
Yeah, sounds about right.
You were still doing ring announcing I believe at that point. Yeah, it had to have been at this point probably
2000.
I want to say 15, 16 years ago.
Oh yeah, absolutely, probably.
So something like that. I've been at this for.
So seeing you now,
right? You've been at this
a little different.
15 years. 15 years now.
And I've known you 13.
Yeah, been at this a long time.
Yeah.
Remember the outdoor? I don't remember at the time. Kayfabe dojo shows.
Yeah. And they had that weird outdoor one at Spencerport or some.
Yeah,
wacky
I was
shit.
there for that one.
Do you know why that show is outdoors?
Why?
Because he rented the building And then we showed up there to put the ring in and realized that the ceiling was too low. We couldn't even set the ring post up.
I did hear that, yeah.
So we just set the ring up in the parking lot and had a show in the parking lot
That's great.
That day, just because, oh, shit. I was like...
You're not going to be able to do any...
Even at like 15 years old, I was like, how does this happen? How do you walk into a place and be like, yeah, we got to fit a ring in here? It could post, like the post could stand up, but nobody inside the ring would have been able to stand up inside of it.
That's crazy.
That would have been incredible.
That would have been interesting.
Yeah, everyone kind of like hunched over,
crawling on the ground.
Yeah, big Jason Atlas.
I'll never forget.
Hunched
I did
over.
a show out in Brockport.
Yeah,
at the rec center out there.
I remember that.
Where there was a storm and they lost power, and everyone lit up their like cell phone lights and flashlights, and someone pulled a car up to the back door and put the headlights into the building.
Wrestling fans are a weird bunch,
no doubt.
Wow.
So yeah, man, like we did a whole match basically in the dark.
That's intense.
And the crowd like loved it.
Of course they did.
Exactly.
Of course they did.
So it was crazy.
Sometimes when things like that happen, like wrestling fans will just appreciate it because they understand like we've upped the difficulty.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Like,
exactly.
I remember I was wrestling Kevin Owens one time in Watertown.
Okay.
And like right in the beginning, he body slams me. He goes to pose on the first rope. First rope just snaps. Right off the thing.
Oh man, that's crazy.
It's like, what do? Plan B. And plan B is just have a bunch of fun and try and do the best we can. And the crowd's just like, good effort, boys. Like,
right. I love Kevin Owens.
Yeah. Like, am I going to jump over these cars with my motorcycle? Yes. And I'm also going to light them on fire.
Exactly.
Degree of difficulty? Up. Right. You know, we appreciate it.
I'm a big Kevin Owens mark. I like Kevin Owens.
Yeah.
Good way to look at it. Yeah.
I think he's funny. I like his whole persona.
Yeah. And I like that it didn't make him change who he was.
Right.
I guess when he got called up, he bought like a brand new singlet to try and like
fit in.
And they were like, what are you doing?
Right.
Get the shorts and the shirt back on.
Exactly.
That is the one thing I've noticed, like from when I was a kid to now, watching wrestling and realizing they're bringing in these. Obviously, we know who Kevin Owens is. They bring him in, and they're not like you're Jim Table Stand.
Right. Exactly.
You're Kevin Owens.
Yeah.
Exactly. I know exactly who that is. You don't have to tell me it's someone random. I know that's Kevin Owens.
Yeah. They curved the name a little bit, like with Owens they did, and with some people they do, but like Nakamura, AJ Styles.
Right.
They just let these guys run with it. They're like, yep, you are who you are, and let's go. Samoa Joe. Let's go.
Samoa Joe. I love Samoa Joe, dude. I've always liked Samoa Joe.
That SmackDown roster?
Right.
Crazy. They're moving that thing to Fox.
That's going to be nuts.
They are not messing around.
No, that's going to be nuts.
I watched it the other night. I try and catch it while I'm here because I'm here until 9, so I'll catch the first hour here. And I was like, man, this roster's stacked. You got Styles, you got Nakamura, you got Daniel Bryan, you got Samoa Joe, you got Cesaro and Sheamus over there now.
Not only do you have Nakamura, but you have heel Nakamura.
Which I love. Yeah. I'm a fan of heel Nakamura. I would say that after that, they're probably that's probably the A team right now.
Yeah, and SmackDown's never been the A team.
Right.
Never. Not for 1 minute did they even ever try. But now that they're rolling them out on a Fox, you know what I'm saying? Like,
it's going to be interesting.
Well, that's the nice thing too. Is I remember back. I mean, looking back at the I guess. I don't even remember what era it would be called. The end of the Attitude Era, start of the whatever era afterwards.
The Ruthless Aggression Era?
Ruthless Aggression, that's what we're talking about. Before it became the Reality Era. And like when Raw was good, it pushed SmackDown to be better, and then when SmackDown was going to push Raw, so I think that's going to be good for the product. Is if SmackDown's really good, they're on Fox on national TV, it'll push Raw to be better.
Right, and
I think a lot of the time it was like Raw was okay, and SmackDown was mediocre, but they're like, we can get away with it.
I wasn't a fan of Sami Zayn as a good guy. I like him as a heel.
I don't know. He is such a good. He's so good at the parts of being a good guy.
He was
but
I found him blah.
I mean, I didn't, but I just think that there was nowhere else to go with him.
Right. No, I agree with you.
He would have just wound up being me.
Yeah. Well,
he would, you know what I'm saying? Like,
okay,
he was almost to that point where it's like, about to wrap this dude in bandages and have him fight for a contract soon.
Right.
That's the road they're headed down with him.
No, I hear you.
It's time to do something. Right. But I don't think it was like, I don't know. I don't think I can say that I like his heel stuff better, but I definitely agree that it was time for a change.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've been around longer. I mean, you've been better places than I have. I've been around for about 14 years in the wrestling scene, and we've seen a huge shift in the way they treat wrestlers. Like we were just talking about how they let Kevin Owens be Kevin Owens. Like back in the day, they would not have done that.
No.
So there's been a huge shift. We're letting people just be themselves.
And it's very different back there nowadays. It's very different because I was back there in December for the first time in basically 10 years.
Right.
Almost 10 years to the day.
Right.
Which was the craziest.
That's cool.
But it is like night and day around there now. Like,
right.
It is not like just the locker room's more casual, more
okay.
People are more chill.
Chill, right?
Like it feels more like an indie wrestling show a little bit. It feels like that kind of locker room atmosphere. I mean, clearly with $1 billion budget, but it still feels like that in the back. You know, everyone's kind of chill and cool. It's not like, oh, watch out, you don't want to be in this person's way, or make sure you're not doing this to this person. Like everyone's just. Chill and being boys. And
my memories of an independent wrestling locker room were grown men putting their penises in other grown men's pockets. You know, I'm hoping it's not like that.
No.
If I tell you, I'll tell you off air who the specific person I'm talking about. You'll know exactly. You'll be. Oh yeah.
I remember it.
Yeah.
I was there.
Right.
For plenty of it.
I was backstage once with a dude called the Naked Pirate.
Oh.
And he literally just walked around butt ass naked. I was like, dude, put some freaking clothes on, bro.
The first time I ever met Jake the Snake Roberts,
right?
He walks in the locker room. I'm probably 17 years old. I'm in Philly, and the promoter says, "Everybody meet Jake the Snake Roberts," and everybody applauds. It's a big, huge locker room. There must have been 50 people on this show randomly.
Okay.
Jake Roberts says, "You've met the snake. Now meet the snake pit." And he turns around, drops his pants, and spreads his asshole. And everyone just kind of chuckles, and then we move along with our lives. And then he walks away, and it's like, yep, well, here we are. And we're here.
That's crazy.
Wrestling.
This
is, when I try to explain to my fiance about wrestling, this is what I mean.
Right.
Yeah, Jake Snake Roberts is going to be at the Flower City Comic-Con.
Yes, he is.
Hopefully he doesn't do that there.
No,
that would be bad.
He's cleaned up now.
Yes.
This is like 13, 14 years ago when he was like really off the rails. I saw him on a show one time where he came out and did this big thing in front of the crowd, but like this big inspirational speech about how drugs are bad. And he's like, "Doing drugs are the best times of my life." And just like stopped, and everyone's like, like he's doing this whole like drugs are, but like, you know, you
don't
be
do
on
drugs.
the right path, do all this stuff, don't do drugs.
Don't do drugs.
But doing drugs were the best times of my life.
He's like, actually, wait a second.
Shit.
Wait a second. I need a minute.
You're convoluting the message here,
a long,
Jake.
Awkward pause too, where everyone's just like, is it going to keep going, or is that it?
Right.
Is that the closer?
Is
that the closer?
Good night, everybody.
And good night.
The whole crowd was like, well, I guess we should go get high.
If you want to do some drugs, I'll be behind the building in 10 minutes.
Let's go get high now.
There's a dumpster out behind the building. Hang out with the snake in the snake pit.
Jesus, that's
crazy. That's hilarious. That's absolutely hilarious.
Well, I must say, I guess because that, if nothing else, that's probably a good spot to wrap the podcast.
Yeah, let's wrap it up. I got a meeting I got to get to.
This is a great venue.
Thanks.
I'm enjoying it. The coffee was fantastic.
Yes.
I think I'm going to grab myself one of those little bowl cups on the way out.
Nice.
So I can rep the place.
Absolutely.
Because if nothing else, wrestling has taught me to be a mark.
Right.
Everywhere I go.
So this is a great venue. Like I was hyping it up at the beginning of the podcast. So.
Well, for you, it's good because it's right next to
the cigar factory.
Yeah,
exactly.
They just got you cornered here. Yeah.
I can tell you use this microphone. It smells like cigars.
Well, I got 2 cigars sitting right here. I don't know, maybe you know.
But hey, we appreciate you having us. Appreciate you joining the podcast.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for coming down.
Thank you.
Promote Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you can find me on Twitter at Extremely Cute. I got on that Twitter game pretty early, so I nailed down at Extremely Cute. Colin Delaney on Facebook. Extremely Colin on Instagram. You know, I'm out there in the world. Come down to Pop Rock, 337 East Ave, Rochester,
Pop Rock also has social media, so look them up on Instagram.
Pop Rock culture across all forms.
Absolutely.
POPROCCULTURE. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram.
Yep.
I think that's all of them.
Whatever else.
MySpace.
Do you have a Zanga blog still?
Got a live journal.
Exactly.
on Pinterest, we can follow you there.
We got an easy journal. We got a...
Yeah, WordPress.
I got a beeper number you can hit me up on.
I don't know. I just don't know. This is how the podcast always. We go good for a while, then we fall off the rails.
But it's fun when we fall off the rails.
Absolutely.
It's way better off the rails.
Exactly.
Absolutely. You can check us out, betterlivethandead.com. Twitter is BLTD Sports. Facebook is Facebook /BLTD Sports. At Emerald G. Perez. At Wolf BLTD. Listen to us on Android, iTunes. Android's Google Play Music. Yep. iTunes is obviously for Apple. But hey, as usual, we are better live than dead.
You're not.
Thanks again for joining us, everybody.
Peace.
The preceding presentation has been brought to you by the Gear Network.